platforms. It is morning, so good morning for a few more moments. It is a pleasure that to have you here. Martin, good to see you. Happy Saturday. Welcome to this Saturday's Bible study. This Saturday, we're going to be talking about addressing the secret exhaustion that you face. And so if you've been tired, if you feel like you've been there for other people and you're doing for others, and yet you're exhausted and worn out, today's going to be the day that we talk about that and address that, because secret exhaustion is one of the greatest threats to having life more abundantly. It's the thing that we're hiding from the world. We're getting by and everybody thinks we're okay, and we're actually not. So we're going to talk about that secret exhaustion today and the exact process of how to overcome it. So before we do, Nikki, good to see you. Loretta, good to see you. Nick, good to see you. Let's have a word of prayer and then jump into today's Bible study and go right at this secret exhaustion, so that we can live life more abundantly. Father, thank you for this day that you have made for us to rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for the opportunity to be here to serve each and every person that shows up, those that are here live, those that are a part of Team Replay. Thank you for their presence, and thank you for this opportunity to help them take their life to another level. We pray today that someone that's been battling with the secret exhaustion in their life would see the path, that they could overcome it, that they could build up that strength, reclaim it, and step into it in full power, knowing that you are with them. So we pray today would be refreshing for someone to encourage their heart and to build them up. And we thank you in advance for these moments. Amen. All right. So Jamie, good to see you. Robert, good to see you. Giselle, good to see you. Good to see everybody. Today, we're going to be in a couple different places. We're normally in the book of Genesis because we spend time in Genesis seeing God's plan. We want to know what God's plan is. And I emphasize that because oftentimes if you look through the Bible and you're reading through the Bible, you can be reading the Bible through the perspective of someone that's made mistakes, of people that have been separated from God, and God's trying to correct them and bring them back. But I believe starting in the beginning, when you look in the word in the beginning, you see God's original design. You see what God's thought was for mankind, for creation, for relationships. We see it right there in the beginning. So I like to be there and work through that because we get to see God's plan. And today, as I was thinking about the secret exhaustion, I thought about the story of David and Goliath, which you might think, well, where does secret exhaustion come into play? Well, I'm going to share a comment that was made, and for me, it points out that David had got to a point where he was exhausted, not tired, physically tired or emotionally tired, but he was spiritually tired of the situation that he was in. Right? He was doing things. He was showing up, and he was working, he was serving, but he was actually tired of the situation. And so he made this comment. And it also brought me back to an experience that I had just yesterday. As I was preparing for today, I was in the gym yesterday, and I was working out, I was training, I was going through my process. And as I was training, there was a woman there. So I'm going through, I'm doing my workout, and in the mirror, I see this woman, and she's there, and she's exercising, and she's on the machine, and she's pulling down the machine, and then she would sit and she would rest a little bit, and then she would pull down the machine and she would rest a little bit. And I saw her, and I was just kind of taking her in. I was in my mind, I was giving her props. I'm like, go ahead, girl, you're in here, you're doing your thing, you're working out. And so as I was watching, I watched as she was on one machine, and then later I was in a different part of the gym and she was in there too. And she was putting the barbell on her back, and she was in there putting the barbell on her back and she was going to squat. And so she puts the bar on her back and she begins to squat down a little bit. She didn't go through a full range of motion. She was squatting down a little bit, and I was just kind of evaluating her, watching her. Part of the reason why I do that is because, having been a person that has owned my own women's training facility, I'm always very sensitive to women training in the gym. So I always see them. I always see a woman training. I'm always watching, because that's part of my heart. Right? That's what connects me to people in the gym. I see a woman training, I'm always watching, right? And so I see her, and she's squatting a little bit, and so she has her earbuds in, which I know is the universal sign for don't bother me. But I couldn't not bother her. So I walk up to her and I say, I said, excuse me. And she takes her earphones off, and I smile, and she smiles back at me. And I said, do you mind if I share something with you, a training tip? And she said, no, I don't mind. She says, as a matter of fact, I don't know what I'm doing. She said, so anything you can tell me is going to be helpful. And so I'm like, all right, cool. We're on a good first foot here, taking a good first step. And so she's there and she's squatting, and I'm going to talk to her. And I said, one of the things I noticed, when you go to take this bar off, you are having to do a lot of work to get it over the hooks, which means she's doing unnecessary work. And so I said, okay. I said, one thing we can do is we can lower these hooks down, so when you step out, you can just step straight back, and you don't have to do that extra work, which I knew if she starts to build up weight and she's getting stronger, that's going to be an unnecessary object in her way. And so today, when we're talking about these thoughts of our secret exhaustion, the things in life that you know right now, this isn't necessarily for everyone. You might feel great. You might be rolling through life. Everything might be great. But if you are dealing and having that secret exhaustion in your life, that fatigue in your life that is actually causing you to start to become frustrated and agitated, and it is discouraging, I'm talking to you today. Because I could imagine there are some things, there are some steps you are taking in life, some things you are doing in life, because one, you don't know what to do. Two, it's the step you're taking is causing you to use more energy. Like this woman in the gym, she's having to use more energy and effort to get this bar off the hook because, as she had already told me, I don't know what to do. So she's working harder. And so in life, you can feel like, and I know we live in this culture where it's all about the hustle and the grind, and be on your hustle. And you feel like you need to do more. You need to do more. There's something that you're not doing. Well, it's actually not the case. It's not about you needing to hustle more. It's about you reclaiming the identity that God has for you. Like, and I'm specifically talking to the women here. So I'm glad that the fellas are here, but ladies, I'm talking to you because God has an identity for you, and God has an identity for us. But I know the majority of this population is female. And so I appreciate the brothers being here, but ladies, I'm talking to you about this image, this identity. You have a divine identity that God has purpose for you. And it is not about you needing to be like everyone else. As I was talking to this woman, and I gave her the tip on how to, move back from the bar and decrease her having to put forth so much effort. I also said, well, can I go get a piece of equipment and bring it over to you? She said, yeah. She was really open to anything because she said, I don't know what I'm doing. She said, I just go on the internet and I find something, and then I'm just doing it. She said, I don't know what I'm doing. So I go get her a box, and I bring the box over to the squat rack, and I said, when you go to squat this bar, I notice that you are reluctant to go through your full range of motion. And I said, I understand why, because you're thinking about falling over. And she said, yeah, I am. Now we're talking, and she's telling me, she said, I'm here because I want to lose 50 or more pounds because I want to have a baby. Now, if you've been with me, you know that I've shared the story about how when I first started in training and I started my women's group, one of the first women that joined the group, she was a woman that was 32 years old. She had a minor stroke, and the doctor said, you're too heavy to have children. She had just got married. She had this minor stroke, and she was 100 pounds overweight. And she said, I want to lose 100 pounds. And so when I heard this woman who's in the gym and she's saying, I want to lose more than 50 pounds, I don't know what I'm doing, it took me back to a beginning place when I started helping women. And I said, I understand exactly where you are. I said, I understand. You have this, you're putting a bar on your back, that's weight. You're carrying weight that you don't want. You're doing unnecessary steps. You don't know what you're doing. And I said, that's all completely frustrating. She's like, yeah. And so I'm talking to her, and I said, okay, if you can go and you can squat down to this box, this seat, sit down on it. And when you sit down on it, and you can stand up from it, and that'll keep you safe. If you want to squat with this bar, that will keep you safe because now you know there's something there that's protecting you from falling over. And she said, okay. And so she gets the bar on her back and she squats down and she sits on the bit on the box. And then she stands up. We do it a couple times. She puts the bar back and she turns around and she's smiling. I said, how'd that feel? She said, it felt much better. I wasn't worried about falling over. See, sometimes in this process of stepping into your divine identity, into the strength that God has designed for you, there are some people that will come along. There's someone that will come along. There's encouragement that you're going to need to help you to take some of this pressure off. She was adding more to her life, and it was more complicated than simple. She was doing complex things because she had seen on the internet, she had looked up on the internet that this is what I should do. And it was all very complex. She says, I don't know what I'm doing. But meanwhile, she's performing these highly complex activities. She has this bar, 45 pounds on her back. She's just starting. She says, I don't know what I'm doing. And you know what that did for me? It took me back to my beginning when women told me we would be in the gym and I was helping them and they would tell me one of three things. They say, I don't know what to do. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to look like a man. Now you might think, what does this have to do with me overcoming my exhaustion? Well, here's the deal. If you don't know what to do, that's a matter of knowledge. When you say, I don't know what to do, it's okay. There's no disrespect in this. And hear me when I say it. When you say you don't know what to do, that means you're ignorant about a topic, and that's okay. Do you know why? Because not knowing is the beginning of learning. When you say, I don't know, that means you have this opportunity to begin to learn. She said to me, I don't know what I'm doing. So that's okay. We'll be okay. But these women, they would tell me, I don't know what to do. I don't want to get hurt, which meant I want to be safe. I want to be protected. While I'm doing this, I want to be in a place of assurance. I want to be protected and safe. And so when you don't know what you're doing, it elevates the fear that you have in your life about taking the next step, about moving forward, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid. I don't know what I'm doing. I could end up hurt. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm surely going to fail because I have no idea what I'm doing. But it's okay. Again, it's okay to not know what you're doing. You don't want to be hurt. And she said, and they would tell you, the ladies would tell me, I don't want to look like a man. Now that's where divine identity came in for me. See, what those women were saying was, I want an image. I want the image that I am meant to have. I don't want to have the image of a man. I want the image of the woman that I am. And so now you say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to get hurt. And I don't want the image of someone else. They were saying, in other words, I want to learn. I want to be safe. And I want to be in my own divine image. I want to be who I am meant to be. And so as I was sharing with this woman, she's squatting down to the box and standing up. And she's starting to smile now because she's safe. I said, do you mind if I show you something on the other part of the gym? I said, so I can show you something else that might make training and exercise a little more easy for you. And she said, yes. Again, she tells me, I don't know what I'm doing. She said, I want to have a baby. When I have a son now, he's 15 months old. And she says, and my husband and I, we want to have a baby, and time is ticking. And since I had him, I haven't been able to lose weight. And she's now telling me her story. She's beginning to reveal her story. And she tells me her dad passed away when he was 55. And she said, I don't want that for my life. I don't want that for my children. I don't want them to see me die early. She said, I want to lose this weight. I want to be strong. I want to be able to move around with my children. And I want to be able to have a baby with my husband. And she's now starting to tell me what she wants. She says, I have something that I want in my life. And she has a desire, something that she wants. And this is important for you overcoming that exhaustion that you have on the inside. Let's go back to David in the Bible for a second. If you've ever heard the story of David, and I'm not going to read it out verbatim, I'm going to give you an overview of the story of David and Goliath. And so Goliath was this champion warrior from the Philistines. That was his group, the Philistines. And maybe you've heard it before. I'm sure you've heard the saying. But Goliath is this champion warrior from the group, the Philistines, the tribe, the Philistines. And he was calling out those that would be called God's people, the children of Israel. And he was standing before them and he was mocking them. He's a giant. He's big. He's strong. He's a champion. And he's calling them out and he's mocking them. He's mocking God. And so this is known. The armies are positioned against each other. And every day he's showing up and he's calling them out and he's mocking them. And the reason I'm giving you this story is because oftentimes in our life, we can look at the exhaustion, the stuff that is fatiguing us. And every single day, it's calling you out. Every single day, it is calling out God in you. Like it is tormenting you. It is mocking you. It's making a mockery of your life, letting you know what you're not. It's calling you out, making you think that you're smaller. And if you've been with me, we talked about how in the garden, the subtle serpent, went and had a conversation with the woman. The same kind of conversation that made her feel like and think that she was less than what God said she was. Ultimately, we know they eat the fruit, sin enters the world. But now that same attitude is here with Goliath, and Goliath is calling out the people of God. And that's what in our lives we'll face that. You'll face that. That's the thing that's causing you exhaustion because it keeps on calling you out. It keeps on tormenting you. There's something in your life and you're like, I want to get past this. The Israel wanted to get past the Philistines, but they didn't take action. They were just standing there against one another, looking at the fight, but no one was entering the fight. All of these warriors, they're there, they're soldiers, but no one's fighting. No one stepped up. So at one point, David's dad sends him to the battle, and he says, listen, David, I'm sending you as a delivery boy. And I'm sending you with this food and this for your brothers. I'm sending you out to the battle with food and nourishment for your brothers. You go out there, delivery. He's being Uber. He's going out, he's Uber Eats to the battle, right? So he's going out to deliver food. And as he goes out to deliver the food, this giant is showing up and he's talking smack again, tormenting them, mocking them, calling them out, daring somebody to take action. And I tell you this because right now there's that thing in your life that is daring you to take action. You think that you're broken? You're not broken. You're being dared to take action. That action might be healing. That action might be the process of admitting that something's going on. It's daring you to take action. It is taunting you, thinking that you won't take action, but you will. And so David's going, he's Uber Eats, he's taking the food, he's delivering it to his brothers. And this giant warrior is calling them out again, Goliath. He's calling them out. And David hears it. And David's agitated by this. And so David now starts to become curious about what's going on and why no one has stepped up to fight. And the king at the time, King Saul, the Bible says that he was head and shoulders taller than everyone else. So he should have stepped up. And yes, perhaps someone should have stepped up in your life, but no one did. That's okay because there's still time to fight this battle. And so I just want to encourage you, it's going to be all right. You might not know what you're doing. You might feel like this is dangerous. But guess what? It's okay. Because in this story, we see something happening. And so David shows up and he's delivering food and he sees the giant calling them out. And David, when he starts to inquire about this, one of his brothers becomes upset and he says, David, I know because David's inquiring about this change, David's inquiring about the confrontation, his brother gets upset with him. And there will be people when you step into your divine identity, when you are no longer the exhausted one, when you're no longer the one that is just getting walked all over, there will be people that will get upset with you that you have now decided I am no longer the floor mat. I'm no longer the one that somebody's going to just keep stepping on. There will be people that get upset with you, but it's okay. But it's okay. You might be thinking, but how? How do I go from being the floor mat? How do I go from being the mistreated one? How do I get out of this place? I don't know what to do. It's scary. It scares me to think that I could step up and that I could say no to being mistreated, or that I could say no to being abused, that I could say no to just doing for everyone else all the time, and I'm worn out. It's scary to think that I could be the person with boundaries. The woman that I was talking to in the gym while we were working out, and I go and I say, "Can we go over here?" And she says, "Yes." And she's telling me her dreams. She's now starting to reveal to me, just in a few moments of time, that I have a dream inside of me. I want to have a baby. I want to lose this weight. I want to be strong enough and capable of moving around with my children. And I want this experience with my husband. And so she's starting to tell her dreams, right? There's something, because now in a few moments of time, she's starting to have hope because she's having a conversation with someone that wants to help her. See, I wasn't there to take anything from her. I wasn't there trying to just to show her how cool I was. No. I just want to help you. I just want to help you. This is what I want to do. And she had her headphones on. She was in her zone. But sometimes, no. Let me take that back. All the time, your help is going to disturb your situation. And I knew the rules. I knew that headphones in, people are in their own world. They don't want to be bothered. But I saw something happening that I did not want to pass by. I saw this woman trying, knowing that if she keeps this up, she'll never have the outcome that she desires. See, sometimes we want to stay in our own world, and we're afraid, and because we're afraid, we're in our own world because we're afraid. And so we're trying to present this image like we're all good, but you're not. And it's okay to not be all good, because when you recognize that you're not all good, you can say to someone, "I need help." Now, everyone won't be able to help you, but a part of this process of you reclaiming, see, we're not simply just searching after anything. This is a process of reclaiming, reclamation. We are going to reclaim, renew, and reign. Those three things are essential to the process. This woman, she's there in the gym. She had a vision. She has a dream. She wanted to reclaim something. She wanted to reclaim the hope of being able to be fit and active. And she said, "I wasn't always this size. I wasn't always this size. I when I had my baby, I gained the weight and I haven't been able to get it off. I want my health back. I want a greater portion of my health back. I want that." She was being passionate. She was showing up. She's doing the work. She just didn't have a plan. She was doing the work, though. She's showing up because she's saying, "I might not know, but I'm doing something because I want to reclaim the better part of me, the stronger part of me, the healthier part of me." And so one of the first things that you want, and if you're going to go from being exhausted, that's secret exhaustion. One of the first things that you want to do is to make the declaration that you are reclaiming something. See, God has given it to you. God has already given you health and strength and wisdom, and he's given you creativity, and he's given you ideas, and life happens, and life begins to pile on top of that. And you maybe serve your life to others a little too much, and you don't have really strong boundaries. So life begins to pile on. And so what happens is when life begins to pile on and fatigue begins to pile on, and then some mistakes begin to pile on, or pain or injuries or whatever happens begins to pile on, that thing that you desire has been buried. It's been buried. See, the healthier body that she wanted, the healthier existence that she wanted, it's there. It's just buried. It's buried under a few extra pounds. She told me She said, when my husband and I first got married, she said there was a lot of emotional strain and stress that I went through. See, her most healthy self was buried underneath that. But she wants to have a richer experience with her husband. And so even though she's buried, I walk over and I start talking to her. I didn't know her story at the moment, but she opened up to getting help. She allowed me to disturb her world. And hopefully right now, I'm disturbing your world to let you know that there is help for you so that you're not doing it alone, so that you're not just trying to fight this battle alone. The children of Israel, they're standing there at this battle, and the champion warrior is calling them out, mocking them, taunting them. And David showed up. All these men, all these soldiers are there. All these guys that are supposed to be fighting. David is a little shepherd boy. He's the one that's feeding the sheep. He's the one that's going as Uber Eats and delivering them food. He's not seen as much. He's the one who's getting called out because he's inquiring about the battle. What's up? How come no one's fighting? And someone's mad at him because he's wanting to know, like, who is this person that is defiling the army of God? Who is this dude that is this guy that is just calling us out? And how come no one's doing anything? And so his brother gets mad at him because now he's getting agitated at the situation. But that army that was there, that's like you. You're there. You have the equipment, you have the tools, you know that there's a fight going on, you know that there's something mocking, and then guess what? David shows up and disturbs the environment. This is a David moment. Like this message is a David moment for your life that disturbs. It should be something that is disturbing your comfort, because here's what David says. And this phrase will change your life if you adopt it and hold on to it and use it. David says this: is there not cause? His brother's calling him out, and he says, I know the naughtiness of your heart, David. You're here, you're asking these questions. David's wanting to know. David says, what will be done for the person that slays this giant, this Philistine giant? What will be done? David's already in his mind starting to process victory. He says, I want to know, what's the reward for this? Reward for someone killing this giant. And they say, okay, the king is going to give his daughter. And so David has this in his mind. David says, I'm thinking about operating because there's a reward on the other side. And he says the question, is there not cause? Now, there's a battle to be engaged in for your life, for your purpose, for your health, for your relationships, for your well-being, for your divine identity. The thing that God said, you were made in my image and likeness. When God took the rib from Adam and he took that rib apart, separate, away from Adam, and God spent time cultivating and bringing forth, forming, making a woman. God said, no, I have a divine identity, and it's not the same identity as that of a man. I'm giving you are an helpmeet. Now, this is not I believe when God was just the fatherly part of God. I picture it like this. The Bible doesn't say this is what's happening, but I picture it this way, that God has taken this rib and he's forming this rib. He's called this woman that he's making an helpmeet. Now, helpmeet as it is in the Bible, God was saying to this woman, I am designing you to be the feminine expression of me, fully powerful. I'm giving you the same title that I give myself when I help out the children of Israel. You are a powerful being, woman. You're not lesser in any way than man. You're a different expression of me. And I know right now in society, there's all kind of fighting about this. But when we look in the Bible, we see a different expression of the one true God. And woman wasn't made lesser in her being. She wasn't. Because when Adam meets her, he says, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken from man. And the Bible says that the two shall become one. So she was not a subtraction. No, not at all. And so when you're looking at your life, you are not lesser and you are not meant to operate the same way. You have a divine identity and a divine purpose. And here's the question: aren't you worth fighting for? Now, that fight, it might seem like that's strenuous and heavy and hard. But let me show you something about the story of David. David's there. He asks, is there not cause? And then he goes on and he's making this direct declaration: I'll fight this Philistine. I'll fight this warrior champion that is calling out the army of God. And so the king says, no, you're not able to do it. And then David starts to rehearse his success. See, when you are in that process of reclaiming that divine identity, when you're in the process of reclaiming that thing that God has given you, the gift of life that God has given you, the purpose, the health, the relationship, that life more abundantly, that divine identity, when you are reclaiming that, you're going to move from reclaiming it to something else. And that is that process of renewal. The Bible says that you are transformed, that we are transformed by the renewing of our mind. This is very important because when David is talking to the king and he's saying, I'll go fight the giant, the king says, no, you're not able. The king starts looking at him and starts talking about how come why he's not able to. And David begins to change the situation because he starts to rehearse his success. He says, listen, I fought a bear, I fought a lion, I've protected my father's sheep. Now he is David. And while someone is being negative to David, telling him what he can't do, David is renewing. David is making his mind new again by rehearsing his victories. We don't see it that way. It happens so fast, but this is a healing moment. David is taking shots. Someone is telling him what he's not. And David says, oh no, in the midst of this, right now, while this is going on, I am going to renew my mind. I am going to think on the things that are pure and just and of good report. I'm going to think on those things. No. I've beat a bear. I've beat a lion. I've protected my dad's sheep. And then David says, because I've been renewing my mind, I have this understanding. I'm not a failure. I'm not what you say I am, because I know that I've won in life. I know that I've had the victories. He said, so what I'll do is I'm going to kill this giant. I'm going to defeat this giant the same way that I defeated the bear and the lion. He's renewing his mind. This is what you have. You have this power. Because guess what? Even though right now you've been taking shots and you've been thinking you're not good enough and you're not able, and you've been perhaps the Saul in your own mind. You've been beating yourself up in your own mind. But guess what? There's another part of your mind right now that you can say, I can find one victory. There is at least one victory in your life. And if you don't think you have one victory, I'm going to show you you're at least one victory. I don't even know you, but I know that you have one victory. Here's how I know. Because the one victory in your life, if you take a breath, you are still breathing. So here's the victory. The one victory in your life, no matter what you're saying, is that everything in your life, anything and everything that has happened to you, none of it has been able to snatch your life away. You're still breathing. You're still here. You're here right now on this. Something about you says, I am strong enough. I am willing to put myself in an environment, listening to this person share with me and encourage me. You're strong enough to be here. So since you're strong enough to be here, there's another victory. You are still alive. Nothing has been able to take you out. And you are willing to put yourself in an environment to be encouraged, to be built up so that you can move forward. You're winning. You are winning. You are winning. You are winning. You have victories. And I know there are other victories. I know that there are other victories in your life. You've had some success somewhere else too. And so now it's about reclaiming that. See, the whole conversation with you as a woman is that somehow you are lesser. It's the same. It's from the garden when the serpent started talking to the woman. The conversation has been the same, that you are not good enough. You are somehow lesser than. And it's been the torment that the enemy of God has used throughout all the ages to break down and defeat and push down and step on women. Same conversation. You're not good enough. There's something in you that's not enough. But God said, I made you in my image and my likeness. You are a representation of me in a feminine form. You are essential to my plan in the world. This is good news. And you might be saying, like, Brian, why are you talking to women? Listen, I'm gonna tell you, because this is where I believe my calling is. I've tried to go different ways. I have been discouraged because I'm a guy. Like, you're a guy. Who gives you the authority and power to talk to a woman and tell her about her life? Well, I care. I'm willing to show up. I'm willing to learn and study. And I have a different perspective. When I started my women's training program, people laughed at me. I had created my first flyer and I put it up and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I got this women's training group I'm starting. And I was so excited. And I remember standing by these two girls. I'll never forget it. They picked up my flyer and they were looking at it and they were laughing. They were laughing. And I thought, man, here I am wanting to do good and they're laughing. But I kept going. I was like, well, you know what? They're not the ones. They're not the ones for me. It's okay. They're not the ones I'm meant to serve. And then over time, women started showing up. I would talk to them about the program and I would talk to them about the system of transforming their lives. And I would tell them, I believe every woman has the power to transform her life. And so we were in the gym and I said, we're going to transform physically. We'll transform relationships. We're going to transform in your hopes and your endeavors, your aspirations, and you're going to transform spiritually. And so they were there and they started showing up and we start training and we start working out and their lives started to change. They were allowing me to serve them. They were allowing me to help them and their lives started to change. And before long, we had this sisterhood. And I would say, I'm the brother that created a sisterhood. But it cost something. There were people like David. They were telling me what I couldn't do. But it wasn't up to me. God has given me this dream. God has given me this vision. And over the past few days and the past few weeks, I've been talking to my bride-to-be and we've been talking about it. And because there had been some changes in my life and different things have happened. And she said, listen, you got to do what you're called to do. And for a while, I stepped away because I said, well, if I'm going to get married and I'm going to have, a bride, I need to make sure that my house is in order because I can't just be working with women and all that and not take care of my house. And she says, no, we're good. We're solid. I'm helping you in this. I'm helping you do this. So she became a part of that renewal of the mind. She said, no, you're doing this. This is what you're called to do. And so when I showed up and started serving, then there's this community being built, this sisterhood being built, women's lives being changed. What happened was we started accumulating stories of transformation, stories of hope. And I can call out names of different ones that experience different things. And I'm telling you this because you're in the same position where your life can be transformed. You can renew your mind, but renewal of the mind, it doesn't often happen just, it's just instant. No. It's going to take some time. Here's why. Because as you move forward, there's still going to be those thoughts that want to call you back. As you go higher, there's still going to be the thoughts that want to pull you down. So being in community, being in connection is so important because it's in the environment. When you grow a seed, when you put a seed into rich soil, it has the opportunity to draw richness into itself so that it can grow and be strong. But if you take a seed and you put it on the sidewalk, there's nothing to draw from. That environment, it won't grow there. And so part of you stepping into and reclaiming your divine identity, it is a renewal of your mind and also a change of your atmosphere. David was at the fight. David's at the battle. This woman in the gym that I was working with yesterday, she was in the squat rack. And I said, listen, I understand you've been looking at some things on the internet and you gather some stuff from the internet. Can I take you into a different part of the gym? I changed her atmosphere. Why did I do that? I said, because if she's over here without me, she's likely to get hurt and she probably won't see much success. So we go to a different part of the gym and I show her some different equipment where I know even without me, she can move forward. See, because I have no desire to make her a slave to me. No, I want her to be strong. That's the point. The point is when you get into that place, that atmosphere where you're being renewed, it's not so that someone else is just taking you for their good. No, they're going to be building you up for your good. David got to the battle. He says, I'll fight this giant. It's because David knew when I defeat this giant, all of my countrymen will be free. He's like, it's not just for me. I'm going to get something from it, but I'm going to set all of my people free. And so here's the deal. When you become strong, when you reclaim your identity, I can tell you that there are people that are connected to you that will be impacted by you. You're not simply getting free and getting strong for yourself. You are connected to some other people. And yes, the internet being as wonderful as it is, oftentimes makes us feel like and think that we're an island all by ourselves, but you're not. Your freedom, your strength, you stepping into that fullness of who you are made to be is going to free some other people. So yeah, you'll get something from it, but that's not God's ultimate plan. God's plan is not, here, I want you to get for you, and that's it. No, God says, I will bless you to be a blessing to other people. And see, so often, we're just wanting to be a blessing to other people and wanting to be a blessing to other people that we are pouring from empty cups because you haven't yet reclaimed yours. And so what this pouring into other people and doing for other people really is, it's a way for you to avoid facing the reality of needing to take care of you. See, as long as you're busy taking care of other people, you never have to slow down for God to show you you. That's what busy does. Busy can keep you occupied. I was busy. I was helping my ladies in the gym. Oh, they were seeing all kinds of change, all kinds of transformation. Their lives were going to the next level. Their bodies were getting healthy. And they would leave the gym and I would sit there exhausted. I would just sit there. This is why I'm like, I know I'm talking to you because that was me. I was serving, just having myself a good time, serving. And I was exhausted. And it kept me from having to deal with me. It kept me from having that time with God that said, all right, how about we heal your wounds, Brian? How about we address how you feel and your low self-esteem and how you beat up yourself and how you are hiding from your potential? And how about, Brian, how about we deal with that? I was busy. And it brought back the scripture to my mind. I was thinking about this morning. When God says, depart from me, I never knew you. See, we think about certain things and we might have heard those phrases and we think about like judgment and going to hell, but depart from me, I never knew you. It was depart from me. I never was able to be intimate with you to bring forth the best of your life. To know that when in the Bible it says that Adam knew his wife and she brought forth a son. right? And that phrase is used throughout the Bible. Knew, I knew you. And so that is an intimate connection that produces the baby. It's about, that's being impregnated. It's not that God saying, I didn't know who you were. No. I never knew you. I was never able to impregnate you. You kept aborting the mission. You kept running away from the assignment. I never was able to know you and give you and give you the thing that develops inside of you, the baby. Like that woman I'm working with yesterday, she wanted a baby. But she also knew in order for me to have a baby, me and my husband, like Marvin Gaye said, we're going to have to get it on. And she said, I want to be healthy for this. I want to be strong for this. I want to reclaim my health for this. I want to see myself a certain kind of way. I want to renew my mind for this. This is what she said. I'm like, this is so good. But depart from me, I never knew you. I never impregnated you. We never had the baby. You never birthed the thing that you were supposed to birth. Do you know that God has you here for a purpose, to birth something into the world? There is a treasure. The Bible says there is a treasure in your earthen vessel. It says it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, the honor of kings to search it out. There's something hidden within you that is supposed to be revealed from you. And guess what? Even as a woman, whether or not you've had a baby or not, that's a part of the beautiful design, that you in your being as women are able to even show what it means to be impregnated and to bring life into the world. And so even as a man, I look at that and I'm in awe. I'm like, whew, I'm glad I don't have to do that physically, but we all have to do it spiritually. We all have to do it purposefully. We're all meant to do it. We're all meant to go through the birthing process. And if you've ever seen a woman or heard about a woman's travail as she goes through birthing, we know that there is going to be some struggle. And the women that I've known that have gone through it, and I've talked to them, and they talk about how they go through and they're going through, and I've been in the room when it's happened, and someone's pushing and they're like, push and push, it's time to push. And they're sweating and it's very intense and there's blood and then there's life. See that life, when you birth the life, like David, when he's at the battle and he goes and he fights this giant, the king says, David, where my equipment? And he gives him his shield and gives him his protector and his sword and all that. And David's trying to move around, and David is uncomfortable. David says he's moving and he's looking a little uncoordinated, I imagine, and he's looking uncoordinated, and David says, I can't go fight with this on. This is not me. This is not how David said it. This is how I'm giving you the interpretation. If you want to read it, it's in 1 Samuel 17. David he's uncoordinated. He's not looking like David. He's wearing someone else's gear. And David says, I have not proven this. I don't know this to work. This is not me. Again, David says, I'm taking this stuff off because I'm getting ready to fight. And you, as a woman, you've been wearing somebody else's stuff. You've been in somebody else's clothes. You've been in somebody else's mindset. Like my lady here yesterday in the gym, she said, I was on the internet. I'm looking at some stuff. I just picked out some stuff. I'm using it. She was in somebody else's workout. She was using somebody else's workout. And I told her, I said, listen, I said, here's the thing about the internet. I said, people just to create programs for specific reasons. And I said, it's a good chance that you looked at someone's workout and they weren't a person that wants to lose over 50 pounds. They weren't a person that was just beginning. That wasn't them. And they might have been a bodybuilder, or they might have been a fitness person that's been working out for years. I said, they weren't thinking about you. When Saul went and put all that armor on David, he wasn't thinking about David. He was thinking about, well, here's what I would do. Meanwhile, Saul wasn't even fighting. Saul has all this equipment. Saul's the king. Saul's head and shoulders bigger than everybody else. Saul wasn't even fighting. Be very careful when you accept stuff from people that aren't even willing to show up to the fight. Like, people are going to give you some advice about what you should do when you decide you're going to fight for your life, when you are going to reclaim your identity. People are going to tell you, you probably shouldn't do that. They're going to give you all kinds of suggestions because now you're making a move. But they weren't fighting. One of the things that I found oftentimes when I was working with the ladies I was working with, they want to lose weight. Many of them wanted to lose weight. Very common desire. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. And so they would start going through this process. They're training with me. They would be with me 4 days a week. They're losing weight. Their bodies are changing. Now here come the people. Oh, you go work out too much. you work out too much. Oh, so now it's I work out too much. Oh, you're so extreme with your diet. Now you're not even eating junk food. And now here they are. This is not extreme. They're changing their diet to have a diet that supports the outcome that they desire. But now it's extreme. Oh, you don't want to go out and drink anymore. I'm fighting my battle. They're showing up to fight their battle. They're like, no, I'm 100 pounds heavier than what I want to be. I'm fighting my battle. So they're fighting their battle. But now people are criticizing. And I remember one woman, she told me, she said, how come these people that are now telling me I'm doing too much, how come none of them told me that I was getting too fat? How come none of them told me that I was getting ready to die with my eating habits and what I was doing before? They were saying nobody was there and telling me that I was dying with the way that I was eating and the way that I was living. Nobody came and they were trying to stop me then. But now that I'm fighting my battle, now they're telling me it's too much. See, people will always tell you, just like Saul, that same attitude. Saul says, here, put on my equipment, do this, do that. I got all kinds of suggestions. David said, that's not me. I'm going to this brook. I'm getting 5 smooth stones. I'm going to fight the way that I know how to fight. It's the same. See, you have some fight in you. This isn't like a woman's devotional where it's all right. I'm just going, just be all gentle. No. I want to agitate the fight in you. I want to agitate the fight in you where you say, oh no, I know I've been hurt. I know I want to heal. I want everything that I could possibly be for myself. I want everything that God has for me. I want all of it. Yeah. It's worth fighting for. So David gets the smooth stones. You know the story. He goes out, he puts the stone in his slingshot, he whips it around, throws it, hits Goliath. Goliath goes to the ground. He takes Goliath's sword, the same Goliath that had been taunting him. He takes his sword and then he chops off his head. Because David said, this is what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to take your head. I'm going to chop off your head. So he does it, hits him, falls down. He takes his own sword. He takes the very thing, that weapon. He takes that sword, chops off his head. He wins the battle. He wins the fight. But he knew he was going to win the fight all along. He made that declaration. He had thought about his past. He had got there. He was exhausted just hearing this tormentor speak. And that's part of the reason that you're so exhausted. That's the reason. You're exhausted from hearing the torment over and over and over every day. You're exhausted. You could be exhausted from hearing your dreams over and over and over every day that you're not taking action on. You're exhausted from hearing the person discouraging you every day. You're exhausted from serving and taking care of other people, but you're not allowing yourself to be healed and made whole. You're not stepping into your fullness of purpose. So you're running around and you're chasing just whatever glitters and whatever shines. You're chasing after this opportunity and you're chasing after that, and you're just chasing because you haven't really decided, I'm going to take what's for me. You're so busy questioning who you are, how you've been made, your ideas, your creativity. You're so busy questioning that you never fully embrace it. And it is exhausting. This woman, we're in the gym and I'm giving her take her to a new part of the gym, and I start showing her new things. And I said, listen, you don't really need to go over to that part, not yet. I said, we're friends now. So when I see you, feel free. You can talk to me and engage. And I said, here, I'm going to give you, we can use a kettlebell, like one single kettlebell, use this box. I said, you can always sit to that box and stand up. I said, that'll start working your body. It's going to help your body start to get acclimated to exercising and to training. And I start giving her a plan. I said, here's a plan. Because she wanted to know. She was like, well, so what do I do? I said, so here's the plan. Helping her to reclaim the divine identity, that thing that God put inside of her. Renewed her mind, helped her to renew her mind, that she would think differently. In a few moments, she began to think differently. Why? Because the outcome is you reign. That you have been designed to be in a position of rulership and power, to reign in authority. How do I know this? The Bible says in the beginning, it says, God said this to mankind, male and female. He says, you are here to be fruitful, to multiply, replenish, and subdue, and have dominion. Dominion means authority, power, to rule in a position of authority. And to have dominion, that means you have taken a position of power over a particular domain. You can't have dominion without a domain. There's something that you're ruling over. There's something where you're in a position of power in that place. Your ideas, your health, your relationships, your connection with God. God says, I've designed you to be in a position of power and authority. So you reclaim, you renew, and you reign. David chops off he chopped off Goliath's head. He chopped off the head and said, we won. I'm the champion now. You were the champion. I'm the champion now. Power. David goes on to be the king. But he was in a position of power. But look at what he did all along the way. He said, no, this exhaustion is a cause. I'm fatigued by hearing this. I'm fatigued by hearing this. So because I'm exhausted from hearing this dude's mouth, I'm about to fight. And when you're exhausted from hearing the same defeating attitude and the same I'm not enough conversation in your mind, and when you're exhausted from just doing and being busy, that's a cause. That's the cause. Your exhaustion is the cause for you to fight for your life, for the life that God has for you, the life more abundantly. God doesn't have you here just to be going through life. God says, no, you're here on this world at this time to be a representation of me. I want you to reign in your divine identity. I've given you gifts. I've given you talents. I've given you ideas. I want you to reign. I want you to look like me, so someone can see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. You're here for a reason. And so you're tired. That's an invitation. That's your invitation. That's your is there not cause for me to go and fight for my life. And so if you know that you've been tired, but you also know there's something greater that you want, this is your moment to say to yourself, is there not cause? And then take action. I had been for weeks really just with God about what he wanted for me and which direction we were going in life, and really just with God, strategizing, thinking. And this woman says to me in the gym, she said, I had my headphones. I said, I know you had your headphones on. I didn't want to bother you. And she said, you know what? Honestly, she said, I was standing there in the squat rack. This is where I met her. She said, I was standing there in the squat rack thinking, I need help. She said, I was thinking, I need help. I should ask someone for help. And then she said, and then you came along. And then she said these words. She said, God really used you. She said, the Lord really used you. I said, I received it. I just took it in. I said, wow, that's not something that you just hear in the gym. I'm like, that's not like a common phrase. But I believe that was for me. I believe that was God's wink to say, you're on the right path. You're doing what you're supposed to do, which is then impacted today and impacting the days going forward. See, this is on purpose. All of this is for a purpose, on purpose, because now it's time for you to step into your reign. But there's a process. It's time to reclaim what's been lost. It's time to renew your mind. It's time to step into that power of victory and reign. Not just once in a while, but that's where you live. You live in that place of power and authority that God has designed for you, where you know that God's will for you is the will that you're executing. And you can give birth to that thing that God has given to you to give birth to. So let's pray and let's just seal this moment so that you can move forward encouraged with a plan. It's time to reclaim, renew, and reign. Father, thank you for this day that you have given us, a day to rejoice and be glad. Thank you for the victory that we are yet to see in our futures that we claim right now. That whatever we've been going through, there is something that you have for us to reclaim. There is hope, there is healing, there is restoration, there is something greater. That thing that's been on the inside that has been calling us, has been agitated in us. That thing is there for us to reclaim. That better day, the life more abundantly. Thank you for that which has been deposited within each one of us, for us to walk it out, to go to battle for. Thank you for the cause that you have deposited within us. The cause of the kingdom that is within us, that causes us to go to that next level, to rise up, to step up to the fight, to step up to the battle, to stop being so busy, so that you and you can touch our lives, that you can show us, that you can heal us, that you can direct us, that you can guide us. You said in your word, if in all of our ways we acknowledged you, you would direct our paths. And so today we're praying for that direction, because we acknowledge you for the path that we are headed down. We want to know that we're on your path, moving in the direction that you desire. And so for each and every person that is here, I pray right now that their mind would be in that process of being renewed. That they would see, there's a better day for me. There's a day of hope for me. There's a day of transformation for me. And as our minds are renewed, I pray that we would see, as your word has said, that we would see the transformation in our lives. That it would show up in our health, in our relationships, in our dreams and endeavors, in our spirits with you, that our spirits would change, that we would look even more like you to those we interact with. That we would show up and be the representation of your love to this world. And so I pray encouragement for those that have been exhausted. They're tired. I pray that today's message was a message of hope, like a fresh cup of water that fills up their cup. They've poured out, they've given to others, but today was for them. So that whether they're here live, whether they're a part of Team Replay, I pray that today their cup is filled up. That they can know that they matter, that they are worth the moment. And so as we go from this place, we pray that your presence still surrounds us. I pray that you would encamp angels of protection around each and every one, that they would be able to sit with these words and hold them dear without the enemy attacking them and stealing from them. I pray peace where there's been chaos. I pray strength, your strength, where there's been weakness. I pray clarity where there's been confusion. And as we move forward, I pray victory. And I pray that there will be testimonies that are shared from these moments, from the actions that we shall take. Thank you for each and every one showing up and being here and the opportunity to serve them. I pray that for every moment they are here, that you would multiply back into their life 100-fold. We thank you in advance, believing that we are in accordance and in line with your will. And we thank you, believing it to be done. Amen. All right. Here it is. Reclaim, renew, reign. This is your time. This is your season. Step into it today. Don't wait another day. No more days just being exhausted. It's time for you to step into your divine identity. I'm B.A. Sheppard, 2 P's ARD. Thanking you so much for being here. Love you much. See ya.